Hello everybody, welcome back to Comedian MTG. I'm your host Ian. Now in today's gameplay episode, it is probably one of my favorite games that we have recorded since the channel started. It's a really fun game, it's got a lot of really cool interaction, and it's really reflective of what I think the current meta looks like. It's got a lot of explosive decks, but also decks that can handle a grindier game. It's finally a game that really gets to show the difference between what people are seeing with like heavy ad nauseum metas, but also what people are seeing in sort of these grindy mid-range metas. And when those two metas collide into a pod like this, I think it ends in what I think is some really interesting cEDH gameplay. So without further ado, I'll show you my deck this week and then we'll check out the gameplay. Previously on Comedian MTG. The deck I'm playing today is Dawnmaker Thrasios. It's a Bruse, Tarl, and Thrasios combo deck featuring infinite mana combos, some including the Monolith and some featuring Dockside Extortionist. Let's check out the players in today's game. First up is Dextro, and he's on Golos Tireless Pilgrim. It's a Turbo Ad Nauseum deck. After that's me on Dawnmaker Thrasios. In third is Higher. You may recognize him as one of my teammates from the Nexus Super League. He's trying a Kydele Vial Smasher Wheel Brew. After that is Michael, and he's trying Korvold Turbo Ad Nauseum. I kept my second 7. Let's check it out. I had 3 lands, a Wild Growth, a Llanowar Elves, a Trophy Mage, and a Muddle the Mixture. I'm pretty happy with this hand because it allows me to have early acceleration in the form of Wild Growth and Llanowar Elves, and a lot of the cards in my hand allow me to go tutor combo pieces, which is really, really nice. Muddle the Mixture in particular allows me to grab a ton of combo pieces in my deck, and is also a counterspell if I need it to be, so I'm very happy with that card in the list. Now to be clear, I am facing 2 very aggressive Nas decks. Golos in particular doesn't play a lot of interaction because the Nas is uncounterable, and Korvold can just storm off with a ton of value. So this hand is definitely a little slower in that pod, but I feel like it has enough to pay off that I'm not really worried about it. Especially seeing as both of them had actually mulled down to 5. Alright, let's get into the game. Now with my opponents in these Nas decks, I'm looking for very explosive starts, and those are the things I know to be afraid of. So when the mana crypt comes down here and there's no payoff afterwards, I feel pretty comfortable with the fact that I'm just playing a dork and passing the turn. Higher just plays a land and goes for an Imp Seal here, which I later find out was just a mana crypt. Now this next couple seconds of audio were just too choice not to share.
Ooh, interesting.
Like that's the kind of sound they make in cartoons when they see a hot girl. Like.
Now the concerning play here is that Mana Vault comes down, which makes a turn 2 Ad Naus extremely easy to come out of Michael. Dextro here seems to be struggling a little bit with the mulligan, and Golos doesn't really help with card advantage, so we're just seeing a lot of mana and nothing to do with it. Now my draw for turn was a Soul Ring, which was pretty nice. I get to play a Wild Growth on one of my lands, play the Soul Ring, and then be able to actually cast my Spellseeker, my draw from last turn, which is pretty great. I go and grab a Neoform because I have a feeling Dockside will have a pretty good payoff at this table. Now, Higher drops a Crypt into his commander, and we didn't actually know the deck very well, so we didn't realize how much of a threat this would end up to be. Now, I see the second black source come down here from Michael, and I'm terrified that we're about to see an Ad Naus. But luckily, it's only a Signet, which ends up being played into a Tinderwall, which allows him to cast his commander, Korvold, the Fake-Cursed King. Now, here he just sacks the vault, draws a card, and passes, which was way better than how I thought that turn was gonna go. Now, Dextro just actually plays his commander here, grabbing Boseiju, which obviously puts the whole table on higher alert, because next turn that probably means an uncounterable Pier or Nas. So there's a couple factors right now that indicate to me that I need to go for the win right now. 1, my hand only has Muddle the Mixture for early interaction. 2, I have the Neoform, which will grab me a Dockside if I sacrifice my Llanowar Elves. That'll give me 5 treasures in the current board state, which is pretty okay, and it's enough for me to combo with. 2, I have the Trophy Mage in my hand, which will allow me to make infinite mana with Dockside and another creature by grabbing a Cloudstone Curia. Here's the other thing. My opponents are all tapped out. Higher has no mana open, Michael has no mana open, and Dextro has only a single mana open. And I know Dextro's deck does not play a lot of interaction in general, so it just makes sense to go for the win right now and see what happens. I also drew an Eternal Witness for turn, which means if things don't go right now, I have a chance to just try it again next turn. So let's check it out. So as I said, Neoform gives me Dockside for 5 mana. This 5 mana is going to allow me to go off and combo. So first, I use some of the mana that I have not from Dockside to play a Trophy Mage, which allows me to go grab my Cloudstone Curio. Curio in Dockside is infinite mana, as long as the total converted mana cost of Dockside and the other creature are less than the amount of treasures you make. So with my commander Thrasios, the combo costs 4 and makes 5. I go to bounce my Dockside and try to play it again, but unfortunately Dextro has the Pact of Negation waiting. As I said, I can go for it again next turn, but I have to get to my next turn. So it's pretty clear to Hire everyone's out of interaction, so he decides he's going to try and go for it. He starts off by playing a Brainstorm, which already allows his Kydele to tap for 4 mana, but things get even more out of hand when he casts a Wheel of Fortune. And now a sentence I never thought I'd ever hear in a cEDH game.
Tap Kydele for 11.
So the only relevant interaction that any of us drew was Michael drew a Slaughter Pact. Now, we didn't know Kydele was the way that Hire was going to end up winning the game, and you'll see in a second here he plays a Staff of Domination to go infinite with Kydele. Michael tries to go for the Slaughter Pact, but at this point, Hire's already cast a Yawgmoth's Will, which means he can just recast his Pact of Negation out of his graveyard. With Staff of Domination and Kydele, Hire is able to draw his whole library. He dumps a bunch of mana rocks, plays Isochron Scepter, Dramatic Reversal, and Aetherflux Reservoir, which gives him infinite Storm, infinite life, and the ability to do infinite damage to his opponents. Thank you for joining us for another gameplay episode here on Comedian MTG. That was a really exciting game. I love that Hire got to show off his brand new spicy brew. Big thanks to our current patrons who help keep this channel going and growing. And if anyone's considering helping support, it's over at patreon.com/comedianmtg. And while you're here on YouTube, if you could hit like and subscribe, it really actually helps out the channel more than you could ever know. So all these things are really great, and I really appreciate people coming in. Thank you, everybody, and have an amazing week.